Sergeant Jamal Harris, a 38-year-old black Marine with 16 years of service, stood in a holding cell in the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office in Southport, North Carolina. His wrists ached from the tight cuffs, his Marine Corps dress blues wrinkled from the rough handling. A decorated sniper with tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, Jamal had faced death countless times, his steady hand and sharp mind saving lives under fire. But today, he was just another black man in the eyes of officers Ryan Caldwell and Ethan Moore, who'd arrested him on a flimsy charge of disorderly conduct after a traffic stop gone wrong. The incident began the previous evening on Highway 211 as Jamal drove home from a Marine Corps event in Wilmington. His SUV, a gift from his wife for his recent promotion, had a broken taillight, a minor issue he hadn't noticed. Caldwell and Moore, patrolling together, pulled him over, their lights flashing in the dusk. Jamal complied, hands on the wheel, his training kicking in. Stay calm. Follow orders, de-escalate. He'd been stopped before, knew the unspoken rules for a black man in uniform. Caldwell approached, his flashlight blinding, his tone sharp. License and registration, he demanded, skipping any courtesy. Jamal handed over his documents, including his military ID, his voice steady. I'm Sergeant Jamal Harris, U.S. Marine Corps. Heading home from an event. Caldwell glanced at the ID, unimpressed, and passed it to Moore. Step out of the vehicle, Caldwell said, his eyes narrowing. Jamal frowned but complied, stepping onto the road, his dress blues immaculate, his posture parade ground sharp. What's the issue, officer? He asked, keeping his hands visible. Moore, younger and eager to assert himself, stepped closer. You were swerving. You drunk? Jamal shook his head.
No, sir.
I don't drink. Just driving home. Caldwell smirked, circling the SUV. Nice car for a soldier, he said, the implication clear. Jamal's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. He'd heard it before, the assumption he didn't belong, that his success was suspect. Moore began searching the vehicle without consent, tossing Jamal's duffel onto the seat. You got anything illegal in here? He asked, his tone accusatory. I'm a Marine, not a criminal, Jamal said, his voice firm but calm. You need probable cause to search my car. Caldwell spun, his face reddening. You don't tell me my job, he snapped. Hands behind your back. Jamal blinked, stunned. Am I under arrest? He asked. Moore grabbed his arm, twisting it. Disorderly conduct. Keep talking, it'll get worse. The cuffs snapped on, too tight, cutting into Jamal's skin. He didn't resist, though every instinct screamed to fight back, not with fists, but with words, with rights. He knew better. Resistance could turn deadly. The officers shoved him into their patrol car, ignoring his request for a supervisor. At the station, they booked him, his dress blues a stark contrast to the gray cell walls. Caldwell mocked him as he filled out paperwork. Marine, huh? Don't look so tough now. Jamal sat in the cell, his mind racing. He'd faced enemy fire, defused ambushes, earned a Bronze Star for valor. This wasn't his first encounter with biased policing, but it stung deeper in his uniform, a symbol of his sacrifice. He was allowed one phone call and dialed his wife, Aisha, a nurse who'd always been his anchor. I've been arrested, he said, his voice low. Call Colonel Grayson. Tell him everything. Aisha, calm under pressure, contacted Colonel Thomas Grayson, Jamal's commanding officer at Camp Lejeune. Grayson, a 30-year veteran, listened as Aisha recounted the stop, Jamal's compliance, the officer's aggression, the baseless arrest. Grayson's voice was steel. I'm on it, Aisha. Jamal's one of my best. This won't stand. He hung up and made a call of his own, one that would shift the course of the day. Grayson reached General Marcus Tate, a 4-star general and the highest-ranking officer at Marine Corps Installations East. Tate, a black man who'd risen through the ranks against similar odds, knew Jamal by reputation, a sniper with a spotless record, a leader who mentored younger Marines. Tate's jaw tightened as Grayson briefed him. Get me the details, Tate said. I'm heading to Southport myself. Back at the sheriff's office, Jamal was scheduled for a bail hearing the next morning. The charge, disorderly conduct, was minor, but the arrest carried weight, a mark on his record that could haunt his career. He sat through the night, his mind focused on his family, his duty, his pride. He wouldn't let Caldwell and Moore break him. The courtroom, a small space in the Brunswick County Courthouse, was half full at 9 a.m. Families of other defendants, a local reporter, and a few court staff filled the gallery. Judge Laura Bennett, a white woman in her 50s known for her no-nonsense rulings, presided. Jamal stood beside his public defender, Emily Chun, a young attorney with a sharp mind but an overloaded caseload. Chun had reviewed the case file, thin and vague, and whispered to Jamal, "This smells like a bad stop. We'll push for dismissal." The prosecutor, David Walsh, presented the state's case. Jamal had been combative during the stop, refusing to comply, creating a public disturbance. The evidence was weak. Officer statements, no video yet, as body cams were under review. Chun countered, citing Jamal's service record, his compliance, the lack of probable cause. "Your Honor, my client is a decorated Marine. This arrest appears retaliatory, possibly discriminatory." Judge Bennett listened, her expression neutral. She'd seen cases like this before. Officers overreaching, defendants caught in the crossfire. "Mr. Harris," she said, "do you wish to speak?" Jamal stood, his voice clear. "Your Honor, I followed every order. I'm a Marine, not a threat. I respectfully request this charge be dropped." Before Bennett could respond, the courtroom door opened, and General Marcus Tate entered, his four-star insignia gleaming on his uniform. The room went silent, heads turning, the bailiff straightening instinctively. Tate, 58, carried an air of command that filled the space. Behind him stood Colonel Grayson and a JAG officer, Major Rachel Kim, her briefcase in hand. Bennett's eyes widened, but she maintained composure. "General Tate, this is unexpected. To what do we owe this visit?" Tate stepped forward, his voice resonant. "Your Honor, I'm here on behalf of Sergeant Jamal Harris, one of my finest Marines. I've reviewed the circumstances of his arrest, and I'm here to request his immediate release and to offer a formal apology for the treatment he endured." The gallery murmured, the reporter scribbling furiously. Walsh, the prosecutor, stood, flustered. "Your Honor, this is irregular. The state's case is—" Tate cut him off, his gaze piercing. "I've seen the body cam footage, Mr. Walsh. It's on its way to this court. It shows Officers Caldwell and Moore acting without cause, targeting Sergeant Harris based on his race. I suggest you reconsider your position." Bennett leaned forward, her authority unshaken but her curiosity piqued. "General, you're making serious allegations. Can you substantiate them?" Tate nodded to Major Kim, who opened her briefcase and handed over a USB drive. "This contains the footage, Your Honor," Kim said. "It shows a clear violation of Sergeant Harris's rights, unlawful search, false arrest, and racial bias." Bennett took the drive, her eyes narrowing. "We'll review this immediately. Court is in recess for 1 hour." She banged her gavel, and the room erupted in whispers. Jamal, still in cuffs, met Tate's gaze and nodded, a silent thank you. Tate returned the nod, his expression one of respect and resolve. In the recess, Bennett, Tate, Kim, and Chun reviewed the footage in chambers. It was damning. Caldwell's aggressive tone, Moore's racial slur, the unnecessary cuffs, all caught in high definition. Bennett's face hardened as she watched. "This is unacceptable," she said. "I'll dismiss the charges." "But what about the officers?" Tate's voice was firm. "I've spoken to Sheriff John Ingram. He's suspending Caldwell and Moore pending a state investigation. I'm also requesting a federal review for civil rights violations." Bennett nodded, impressed by Tate's swift action. "Very well," she said. "Let's reconvene." Back in the courtroom, Bennett addressed the gallery. "Based on new evidence, the charges against Sergeant Jamal Harris are dismissed." She turned to Jamal, her tone softer. "Sergeant, this court apologizes for what you've endured. You're free to go." The cuffs were removed, and Jamal stood taller, his dignity restored. Tate approached, extending his hand. "Sergeant Harris, on behalf of the Marine Corps, I apologize. You deserved better. Jamal shook his hand, his voice steady. Thank you, sir. Just doing my duty. The gallery applauded, the reporter capturing every word. Caldwell and Moore were charged with misconduct and false arrest within days. The footage, leaked to the media, sparked protests in Southport, demands for reform echoing through the town. Sheriff Ingram implemented new training, body cam audits, and a community oversight board. Jamal returned to duty, promoted to staff sergeant, his story inspiring his unit. Tate's intervention became legend, a 4-star general humbling a small-town system. For Jamal, it was simpler. His honor, his service had been seen. The officers who'd cuffed him faced consequences, their lives upended by one Marine's resilience and one general's resolve.